forgot these things. They keep talking. Hey, my name's James. I'm James Keefe. I'm with the FBI.
Hey, Miles. Nice to meet you, brother. Good. How you doing?
We came out here to ask you questions regarding a protest that happened on the 11th of June.
On the 11th?
Yeah.
What protest?
There's a protest out by the country club in Valencia area. And we've been just basically going around asking questions for a few people that were brought up, and your name was brought up. So
Okay.
I want to see if you had a couple minutes to answer some questions regarding the protest that happened.
Yeah, who are you with?
I'm with the FBI. My
Okay.
name's James.
Okay.
So I just want to know if you have a few minutes to chat. So
Yeah. Inside?
Yeah, we're go ahead, too. Yeah.
I got roommates. Can we do it outside?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're not trying to,
Ken Klippenstein, the journalist that got access to this footage, had it sent to him by Miles Serafini, the individual there in question. Klippenstein talks about the fact that Miles said the reason that he was sharing the video was because he feels like his rights were trampled on, and that he had a right to go to that protest, and that the FBI showing up to his door and trying to intimidate him is exactly what this administration is all about.
Well, I think, that, like you said, right, that executive order, that, what is it, NPR, what is it, NPR 7 or something like that? NSPM 7. I think that in itself is right, is a thing to intimidate. And so I was just actually reading something about it on the from the ACLU, right, that, and this is true, that, when you hear like the president talk now, the rhetoric, and even the Republicans, like Speaker Johnson, everything's terrorist, right? These are domestic terrorists. Well, there's no such thing as a domestic terrorist, right? That's not a legal term. It's not like a foreign terrorist group, right? There's no such thing as domestic terrorist. And so, but they're trying, I think, to kind of, spur up this kind of image and picture of people that are going around causing havoc and things like that. You see this whole thing, right, with the No Kings protests that happened this past weekend. They said it was, Hamas lovers, Antifa. These are all the people that were going to be out there trying to cause no good, and it was peaceful. There wasn't anything that happened there. But they are trying to create this image of people, out there causing havoc and ruin. And it doesn't happen. The whole city of Portland, right? They said the city of Portland's on fire, or it's being destroyed. There's nothing like that, the such. But if you're not there and you don't know, and all you watch is right-wing media, they're picking up on that, and you're like, oh my God, okay. Look what all they're doing. Look at the destruction that's being caused over there, right? They're showing video from a George Floyd protest that it kind of happened like years ago. So, what the president's doing is dangerous. What the Republicans are doing is dangerous. It's all about trying to create these images and that are a falsehood, right? About this just group of people that is somehow, if you're on the left, you're associated with these, these ultra, horrible like individuals. They're looking to just trying to cause destruction. And it's a complete falsehood.
Yeah, I want to bounce off of something that you said, too, because I reached out to Ken Klippenstein to kind of get some more context on this story and to see what he thought really was the harm and something that we cannot miss. And he mentioned what you had brought up about the fact that there is no label of domestic terrorism legally in the United States. But he points out that beyond that, even though there aren't charges being brought up against these individuals, that there's still like serious repercussions, like a small one there. In the case of Elias, another individual who was also interrogated because of his presence at one of these protests, he was detained for half a day. His name now shows up next to other domestic terrorism allegations, and there's going to be consequences for individuals and how they can exercise their rights. So I guess my question is, do you think that we need to pay attention to the consequences outside of any legal charges that are being brought?
Well, I think why the FBI showed at this person's door, right? We don't know, and we're just going by what they said and what they kind of said, right? So, but you know, if they just wanted to ask him questions about a protest that went on or something that happened, you know, they weren't charging with anything. I would have just told them to go away. I'm like, yeah, I do mind, and I'm not answering your questions. You know, because they weren't charging him with anything. They weren't taking him in. They weren't arresting him. Yeah, that's something I would have definitely pushed back on. But you know, look, again, it's an intimidation factor, right? They are trying to intimidate individuals to kind of keep them away. But I will say it's not working. You know, we had 7 million people. It was the largest protest ever in the country's history just this past weekend. So, you know, people are going to exercise their right to peaceful protest, you know, peaceful assembly. And, you know, I encourage them to keep doing that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. That's one of the things that when I first saw the video, I was like, "Ooh, man, no, you should not be talking to them at all."
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, it's one of those things where in the spur of the moment, you have someone knock on your door and tell you that they have a lot of information about you and that they're trying to link you to something that you really aren't involved in. And I can understand how under that pressure, right? It's always like so easy to kind of Monday morning quarterback it and be like, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't have talked to them. But
Well,
I've been in
you
that.
know,
I've been in that
the
too,
way
but
you're right, the way they kind of put it out there, right? It's like, hey, your name came up in this, you know, do you mind if we talk to you about it, right? And he's probably curious as like, what did they say?
mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah,
you know, I think the thing we need to know, right, is that just people should be, you know, anytime that this situation happens or anything, right, they should definitely speak out about it and let them know that, hey, you know, the FBI came to my door.
yeah. And then on that second point, I mean, right now, obviously, we're not seeing that people are being we're not seeing in mass necessarily individuals not going out to protest. But as I mentioned in the case of Miles, this incident caused him to not attend the No Kings protest, which he otherwise would have. So
Yeah.
are you afraid that potentially if instances like this keep happening and they keep occurring, that it will trim away at individuals' willingness to go out and protest? And
I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of what we're seeing with the ICE raids, right? It's, you know, it's definitely having a factor with people not showing up to work, people keeping their kids out of school, you know, people not going to shop. I mean, there is a factor in that, and it could definitely be a consequence. You know, if it happened to this individual and he said, you know, I didn't go because of that, I'm sure it is some kind of tactic or something that they think could be effective.
yeah, yeah. And I think necessarily it's going to lead to people being afraid of exercising their rights. And
Yeah.
I
But
heard a
again,
really good,
you know, the thing I would encourage, right, is that if you don't do anything wrong, you have nothing to be afraid of, right? You have nothing to be afraid of. And they are trying to intimidate people, but if you're following the law, what are they, you know, they can't do anything to you.
well, I mean, what about the circumstance where, like, with Elias, the other teacher, even though technically he was following the law, now his name, you know, appears next to the word domestic terrorism, and what consequences that could, even though there's not like that. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier with the fact that there is no label of domestic
I know
terrorist in
where
the
is his
United
name, but
States.
where's his name appearing?
The report says that his name appears alongside the word domestic terrorism in an official government press release. That is the fourth hit when you Google Elias Sapita.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're going in and interrogating these individuals, and then, like you're saying, they're using that as
Yeah.
a way to, like, oh, actually, we did find someone that was involved in this, and their name is this, and they, you know, they might be a domestic terrorist. So they're not
Yeah, I
necessarily
mean, look, their tactics are what they're doing is horrible. It's just horrible, and they shouldn't be doing it. And again, it's just another form of intimidation that they're trying to use by creating this falsehood.
How do we push back?
I mean, well, by calling them out, right? Um, you know, I think if people are seeing this or it's happening to people, you know, definitely if it happens to anybody in my district, or even if you're not in my district, you know, call my office, let us know, right? And we will push back for you. We'll like bring it up and we'll like go out to the FBI and ask them like, hey, under what circumstances were you doing or investigating this individual, right? We can do that as members. But if anybody is experiencing this, call your congressman. I would tell you, right? And tell them, like, that they came here and they tried to intimidate you with these false claims of something that doesn't exist or an event that you weren't at. But we have to keep going, right? We cannot let them intimidate us and kind of create this, these things where, they're going to stop. Now, look, we know how the president is, right? We know he's a narcissist. We know he's petty. Anybody who calls him out or says anything bad about him, he's going to go after him at some point. And we're seeing that with, John Bolton and the New York Attorney General and everybody. He's got his list of people that he's going after, but you can't let that stop us from kind of speaking out and calling him out for what's wrong.
Yeah. Well, one last question, because I saw this argument be made, and I guess it had never really crossed my mind. But as you're saying, there is no label. We mentioned this a couple times of domestic terrorism, but there are foreign terrorist labels. And one thing that Trump has been doing is that he has been trying to label drug cartels and drug traffickers as terrorists.
Right.
And in doing so, using that label of terrorist as an excuse to eliminate them, to kill them. Do you think that there is a potential for escalation? Now, obviously, I mean, if we want to play with the hypothetical of Trump going that far with domestic actors, as he's saying, but do you think that there's a potential for an escalation here, where eventually he does start arresting these people, or it's no longer just interrogations and showing up at their door, but actually taking some type of action against them?
I hope look, I don't know if he can personally do that, right? And I hope, the rule of law still exists where people, that if you're a law enforcement individual, that if you're going to arrest somebody, there's a reason and a purpose for doing it, not just because the president said, I don't like this person, and they said something bad against me. That people are going to stand up and say no, right? I mean, we kind of saw this already. And look, he may fire those people because we've seen that too, right? The U.S. attorney that he put in place that wouldn't do what he wanted him to do, so he hired one of his own former attorneys, defense attorneys. But look, it is petty. He is petty, and he is going to do things, right? And he's going after his enemies. I don't know that the average person on the street needs to kind of worry about this, right? As far as they're going to go after, but again, if it happens, or if you're seeing that, right, speak out. Just don't, call us. Let us know. Let us help you and support you on this effort, right? We can't allow them just to kind of stop us.
Yeah. One thing that stuck with me while I was reading some of the internet's reactions to this story is it said that if we start acting like we already don't have our rights, then we lost them.
Right.
So we have to keep protesting. We have to keep showing up.
Yeah.
We can't be afraid of the consequences.
We can't be afraid to do nothing, or I should say, we can't be afraid to do the right thing, right, and to follow the law, right? Peaceful assembly, the right to protest, it's allowed, and it's not against the law as long as you keep it peaceful, right? And I think that's what the people are doing, and we can't let intimidate us to stop from doing that.
Yeah. No, and that's the most ironic thing about this NSPM 7 directive, right? It says that if you express anti-American values, then you can be put on the domestic terrorism watch list. Well, the most anti-American thing that you can do is intimidate someone for exercising their First Amendment rights. I
mean, he's pissing all over the Constitution, right? I mean, it's, there's nothing American about that.
Nope. All right. Well, I appreciate you commenting on this video, and if anyone, is interested in this story, then be sure to follow Ken Klippenstein. Does amazing reporting, breaking stories like this. He's the reason that I knew about NSPM 7 and was even able to bring it up in the first place. So shout out to Ken Klippenstein as well.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Go.